Hey Warriors fans, are you seriously watching the NBA Finals again? Welcome back to the Finals. I know it's been a long, agonizing 2-year wait, but you guys are finally back, and Golden State is finally back to being the golden standard. But how did we get here? How'd you go from a lottery team and a 15-win team to a contender within just 2 seasons? To paint a better picture, we're going to go back to the last time this dynasty was in the NBA Finals. The year is 2019. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, and Andre Iguodala are coming off back-to-back championships in postseasons that they lost a combined 6 total games between 2017 and 2018. The addition of Kevin Durant to this already stacked roster proved to be way more than the league was ready to handle. And then the offseason acquisition to get DeMarcus Boogie Cousins in the 2019 season, we kind of assumed it was going to be a wrap before it even started. And during the season, that actually proved to be somewhat true. The Warriors would become the number 1 seed and win 57 games. The 6th straight season, they would win 50 such games, and eventually win the Western Conference for the 5th straight season, punching their ticket to the NBA Finals. This team collected several accolades on their way to the finals this season, including Steph and KD both getting first team All-NBA, and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson both getting first team All-Defense. Klay Thompson also broke the record for the most amount of threes shot in one game with 14, breaking Steph's former record of 13, and Steph broke the all-time three-pointers in the playoffs record, beating Ray Allen. However, in the finals, that's where this magical run came to an end. With the matchup against the Toronto Raptors and lingering injuries with DeMarcus Cousins and Steph Curry, and then significant injuries happening in the finals to KD, who ruptured his Achilles, and Klay Thompson, who tore his ACL, the team was limping against a team like the Toronto Raptors, who were firing on all cylinders. Fresh off a Kawhi Leonard Game 7 buzzer beater to send them to the finals against the Philadelphia 76ers, the Raptors were just rolling. They carried over the energy to the finals and had 7 different players average over 10 or more points during the finals, including Kawhi Leonard, who had 28.5, almost 10 rebounds, and 4.2 assists during the 6-game finals run. This loss stopped the three-peat by the Warriors, and with rumors of KD potentially departing in the offseason, this loss felt like it could have been the end of this Warriors dynasty. Or so we thought. The 2019 offseason was a very busy one for the Warriors. The offseason rumors were true, and Kevin Durant did want to leave the team, eventually asking for a sign and trade with the Brooklyn Nets, bringing back D'Angelo Russell from the Nets to the Warriors after D'Angelo's first All-Star season. Andre Iguodala left for the Memphis Grizzlies and then eventually switching to the Miami Heat, and DeMarcus Cousins signed with the LA Lakers to join LeBron and AD over there in Los Angeles. In this offseason's draft, they selected Jordan Poole out of Michigan and Eric Pascal. And with Klay still out from the torn ACL in the finals and no longer having Kevin Durant, this team had a lot of talent to try and fill if they wanted to remain competitive next season. And this season was an important one. It was the inaugural season of the Chase Center and was the team's official move from Oakland to San Francisco. The move, however, did not bode well for the once mighty Warriors. The loss of 2 of their superstars was too much to overcome, and then somewhere in the season, Steph Curry also got injured, needing surgery on his hand, and he would be out for the rest of the season. Golden State had just dominated and been to 5 consecutive finals, and now they look like a glorified G League team, putting up a putrid 15-50 record. This record had them 4 games below the Cleveland Cavaliers, the team they matched up with 4 times in the finals just 2 years prior to this. Those 2 teams combined for 34 wins. The best thing to come from this 2020 season, however, was that D'Angelo Russell actually did play particularly well. This earned him a trade to the Minnesota Timberwolves in return for Andrew Wiggins and a first-round pick. Bob Myers was working absolute magic and making the most out of absolutely nothing when they could have lost Kevin Durant for nothing, eventually turning it into a first-round pick and Andrew Wiggins. With Wiggins on the roster, the 2021 Warriors had at least a little bit of expectations. Klay Thompson was set to return, Steph was set to return, and now they had a former number 1 overall pick that still had the upside that we've always seen in him. However, just before the season, Klay Thompson suffered an Achilles injury that ended his season for the 2nd consecutive year. It was going to be an uphill battle for the Warriors to be competitive, and you know who was up for the task? Steph Curry. It was a historic season for Steph. He led the league in scoring with 32 a game, and he was the 3rd player ever to score 2,700 points, 400 boards, and 400 assists in a single calendar year. They ended the season as the 8th seed in the West with a 39-33 record and had to play in the play-in tournament, in which they lost both games to the Lakers and the Memphis Grizzlies, leading them to the 7th overall pick in the 2021 NBA Draft, selecting Jonathan Kuminga. Enter 2022. The hobbled are healing, the youth are growing, and the Warriors' traction and confidence is becoming more and more evident by the day. This team plays pass first, finesse, shoots lights out, and deploy confusing and irritating defense. Eyes around the league are starting to notice. The Warriors might be back. This rendition of the Warriors had 53 wins in the regular season and finished 3rd overall in the Western Conference. Let's find out what makes them so deadly. Starting with one of their biggest returners is finally getting Klay Thompson back. After 2 full seasons of not playing basketball and his ACL injury turning into an Achilles injury, Klay is finally back. And despite a really shaky start to his season, he really started to round it out towards the end there. And despite his clearly reduced mobility and a little bit worse on the perimeter as a defender, because of that, he was still shooting 38.5% from 3 this season. And just having him out there is a known weapon. It's one of those things where Klay has been so great and is one of the all-time great shooters that just having him on the court is a moral victory for this Warriors team. And forget a moral victory, Klay is shooting 45.7% in the playoffs and scoring 19.8 points per game. Next, we'll look at Draymond Green, who at this point in his career has just fully and completely embraced being the impact guy that will do all the dirty work that doesn't show up in the stat sheet. He will get underneath the skin of your favorite player. He will play incredible, and gritty defense. He'll even facilitate the ball and play the point guard when it's called upon him. He finds the cracks and the chips in the armor of the other team and exploits it almost like nobody else in the league when it comes to just in the mental part of the game. And having a leader like Draymond has helped the young guys on this team tremendously develop that winning and gritty mentality. And his impact on this team was never more evident than in the brief stint that he hit the injured list in this season. The Warriors went 19-17 versus 34-12 with him on the court. And although he only averaged 7-7-7 this year, he was a much better player just based off that win total and also just everything else he brings to this team. I think it's extremely important to talk about Andrew Wiggins after you talk about Draymond Green because of just how much Wiggins has changed the way he plays based off of Draymond. He no longer has to be the number 1 option like he did over in Minnesota. The pressure is significantly less on him now that you have Steph Curry and Klay Thompson on your perimeter. And he's able to use the athleticism that he was gifted with and become that two-way player that we weren't sure that he could ever be. And I fully accredit his defensive steps up to the coaching staff and Draymond Green completely. Wiggins blossomed this season and took a step up and became an all-star for the first time in his career. He notched 17.2 points per game on 46.6% shooting from the field. And it was just clear that this is a much smarter player than he was back in his Minnesota days. And despite him not being Kevin Durant, he is essentially filling that Kevin Durant role where he's a versatile defender and can score and make those types of shots that when you need him, he's kind of there for you. If there was any consolation prize to losing the finals to the Raptors all those years ago, it would be the draft pick of Jordan Poole. Poole spent a decent amount of time in the G League in his first 2 seasons where he was able to consistently play and just get better ball skills. However, when he was around the team, he made sure to make an impression, and he proved that he had what it takes to stay in the NBA. And in 2022, Jordan Poole slashed 18.5 points per game, 4 assists, and 3.4 rebounds. He even had 10 games of 30 or more points in the regular season, and proved that he could be a number 1 option in an offense at times. And having a guy who could have that ability when you already have Steph Curry is an absolute advantage. Poole became immersed in the Warriors' unselfish nature and is completely pass first, yet he'll take and create his shots when he feels his team needs it, and has shown glimpses that he is well better than anything we could have ever imagined from a late first round pick in the NBA draft. And at the end of the season, he was even in the conversation for the Most Improved Player award, which he eventually lost to Ja Morant. Kevon Looney is even an important piece to this team. He's been a tall, lanky prospect for a long time and has shown glimpses in previous playoffs that he could do what's needed out of this team. But Looney finally staying healthy and being able to be on the court and use his size for the Warriors, it's been impressive to see him work in the paint, and especially on offense at times. He's showing his quick feet and that he can get buckets almost in a Tyson Chandler-esque role. And of course, this team is headlined by Steph Curry, who was coming off an immaculate season the year before, and now in the 2022 playoffs is averaging 25.9 points a game, 4 boards, and 6 assists, and was awarded the first ever Magic Johnson Western Conference Finals MVP award. After taking down Luka Doncic in the Western Conference Finals, Golden State is 4 wins away from a full return to greatness. The dynasty we thought was lost has found a way back to the promised land. And its return to greatness only took these 2 seasons and is incredibly future driven. There are draft picks that this organization has taken that they see really contributing in the future. James Wiseman and Jonathan Kuminga are going to be fantastic for this team after a couple years, and despite Clay and Steph and Draymond getting a little bit older, the youth of this team is really going to hold them all together. And to lose one of the best players on the planet like Kevin Durant to be back in the finals just 3 years later is nothing short of spectacular. The job isn't finished, however. They face an incredible challenge against the Boston Celtics, a defensive-first young team led by Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They just played 2 Game 7s against one of the toughest schedules in the playoffs I've ever seen. The Warriors have their work cut out for them in this 2022 finals. However, whatever the result is, this team is officially back, the dynasty has been remade, and it is an absolute pleasure to have all their casual fans back. So there you have it, a full recap over the last couple of seasons if you were not paying attention. Welcome back to the finals, and may the future never bring you a 2-year drought ever again. If you guys like this style of video, please make sure to leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel. Comment your favorite part about this 2022 Warriors team and their development into becoming this team. I would love to make more content like this for you guys, so please let me know if you enjoyed it. Thank you again for listening, and I hope you enjoy the 2022 NBA Finals.